Here, we're getting ready to go live now.
Okay.
Preparing to live stream the meeting. Look, it says live on YouTube. Go ahead. You're streaming. You're live.
Oh, we're live. Oh my goodness. Well, I just want to say, happy winter solstice to you, Marcus. And thank you to everybody who's joining us today, everyone who is joining us after we do this live. I know it's been a crazy time. Just as a timestamp, this is December 20th, 2020. This is the year that shook up the world. And I can personally say that I've definitely been in a bit of a chrysalis and just really digesting and gestating and really just feeling through all of the shifts and changes that have come about. I don't know about you guys. I'm curious, who's joining us today? If you're joining us live, please like the video and please let us know where you're joining us from in the live chat or in the comments below. We'd love to know where you're joining us from. Where are you celebrating the solstice? Are you in the Northern Hemisphere with us in the winter? Are you in the South? Are you enjoying summer solstice? I'm just curious, where is everybody coming from? And Marcus, how is your whole season been this last little bit? I haven't seen you, I think, since the harvest moon.
It's been pretty crazy. I'm not going to lie. Driving home from the city today with my 17-year-old son, he looked at me and he said, "Dad, it's been almost a year since we've been to Whistler." And Whistler's like in our backyard. So we've got our passes now. We're all ready to kind of get up there and going again. But yeah, this whole global pandemic has been that has been thrust upon us, regardless of your belief system and where you sit on the fence and what you think is real or not real or all the polarization. I'm just kind of watching it all happen, and just doing my best to keep my head above water and help those around me and stay positive and smoke as much Congolese rosin and bubble hash as I possibly can.
Oh, you know what? I want to raise you to that. So we had a big harvest. And I'll share with you. This is some of the watermelon that we finished with. I don't know if you can see that.
So where did you get that cut?
I got this cut from a friend in the community who I call No-Till Todd.
Okay.
Yeah, he's one of the best growers I've ever met in my life. His medicine, he did obviously no-till. I think he's been growing for over 20 years. He is someone who has, pardon?
He's growing it right.
He is, with so much love. And honestly, him and his partner, Jolene, they are just so attuned to the plant. So I was really blessed to be able to get these cuts from them. And
I wonder where they got them, because watermelon is actually a cut originally called Astro Boy, bred by Subcool, but really it was bred by Bad Boy, who was another friend of mine who was taking care of Subcool's grow while he was in prison in Winnipeg. And the Apollo 11 or 13 female got smacked with some male pollen from the plant that he called Taco. And Taco was an Ortega male. And so the Ortega male crossed with the Apollo 13, created the Astro Boy, which we kind of as a community renamed watermelon because it had such a fruity kind of watermelon-y smell to it.
It does. It's so melony.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was the watermelon that you're talking about. And I guarantee, I gave it out to a lot of people. And that's why I asked, because it's very likely that he got that from someone I gave it to.
You know what? I don't doubt it. And I don't know. It's just been such a wonderful, wonderful cultivar for me. I find that it's not too heavy. That's what I like about it, is I can smoke a joint. I can still function. I'm a little spaced out, but I'm not couch locked or eating the fridge, which I appreciate. And I don't know, the nose on this is it's just so lovely. So I wish you guys had smell-o-vision, but here's mine. And I was sharing before we started that I'm actually not going to personally smoke anything today, but I am going to enjoy modulating by smelling. And I'm also going to take some CBD drops. The CBD comes from someone in the community, and it's honestly one of the most floral CBDs God, who am I? CBD that I've ever had. It's just so delicious. So just a little homemade here. So for all of you joining us, we are going to dive into a really juicy meditation in a little bit. I wanted to touch base about what the winter solstice is, what is Yule, what does this time represent on the planet? But before we dive in, let's have a little A little sesh.
A little puff puff.
Mm. Beauty.
Ooh.
Please, can you describe that to us?
Well, shout out to Dustin Revere right off the bat for these tiny little water droplet pipes that he does. I was in love with them for so long. I finally just decided to get off my butt and get one. The line work on the pipe is so spectacular. As a hash and concentrate smoker, I really prefer a much smaller pipe. I don't want to diffuse and dilute my resin vapor with a lot of oxygen. So obviously, if you have a big pipe and you go to take a dab, you've got to clear the entire amount of air out of that pipe before you can pull the smoke into it, and then you've got to pull that out. And so with a small pipe, you get this tiny little bit of air at the start of your hit, but otherwise it's very, very concentrated. And I just Congolese, so it's just absolutely like 100%, like from here and up. It's just the whole high is right here. My body completely feels normal, like in every sense of the way. Maybe it's vibing a little bit nicely with that sativa, kind of like a motor. It's like a motor running when you take those cultivar rips. So shout out to the sativas. I love them.
I do too. I do too. One of my all-time favorites is Super Silver Haze, but Red Congolese. Oh, in my world, that's like a rarity. So please enjoy.
I was lucky enough to visit Aryan's garden of the Super Silver Haze years ago while they were kind of being bred by Shanti Baba, who was Scott Blakey at the time. He was doing the breeding. I guess Neville kind of was just on the outs because Aryan started, he had Neville with him when I first met him. And then Neville kind of bounced, who's this old school breeder, Neville's Haze. Shanti Baba came in, who is Scott Blakey. He brought in these beautiful Australian, narrow leaf drug cultivars and started coming up with beautiful things like White Widow. And he came up with Super Silver Haze, which is also just one of my absolute favorites. I've always been a fan of the haze, thanks to my mentor, Ron Hickey, who back in the day when I was very young and he was learning all about this stuff, he had a cultivar that he used to grow called the haze, and it was like a pure haze that took 18 to 19 weeks.
Wow, that is some dedication and some love.
Especially in a world where cannabis prohibition was real, the crime was real, and it was how much can I get and how fast can I get it. You had to be off your rocker for real to be growing a sativa that took 3 times the time as other cultivars. Like literally.
That's some dedication. Like that's some devotion to the plants. And that's where like I really believe that these plants are working through us because, on paper that makes no sense. But when you have those experiences and these cultivars are incredible. They're game changers. I know for me, when I grew up in Edmonton, it was only purple kush that you could find, really heavy indica. That was it. And then when I came across Super Lemon Haze, I was like, oh my God, like I have energy. I can write this paper in like 16 hours straight. I can clean my house in 3 hours. Like this is amazing. I feel so energized. It changed my world. And then learning more about, the parents, that's when I really found the Super Silver Haze was like, that was the piece for me. The piece.
Oh yeah. I've got my son's middle name is Hayes, so I have a huge affinity for Hayes's terpenoline, the dominant terpene that's often produced in the narrow leaf drug cultivars. Absolutely one of my favorites, and I can just taste it all the way down my throat right now from that Congo.
Sweet. Enjoy it. That's so good. Oh, well, I wanted to check in too. Considering that it's the winter solstice, do you guys have any plans? Anything going on tomorrow?
Nothing off the top of my head, but it is my first day off in a long time. So I'm not working. I've taken the whole week off up to Christmas. So, honestly, if just talking to you right now, I'm thinking take the whole family up to the top of Cypress Mountain and go snowshoeing.
Oh my God, yeah.
Do it from like 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, so I get a little bit of light, and then I get into the pitch darkness snowshoeing with the lights on the heads and stuff. It's really, I've only done it one time before, and it's magical.
It honestly is. I loved snowshoeing as a kid. It was one of those things where it's like you're free to be. You can just go and be in nature and make your own path. I love it.
Epic,
Please
epic
do that.
mountain nature. I'm a prairie boy. You have to keep in mind. I'm like, I didn't like snowshoeing at all. All it was walking across a parking lot, basically
I
snowshoeing.
still liked it. I'm not gonna lie. I
That's
enjoyed
good,
it, but
but you know what? When I came out here and it was like tiny, tight little trails and conifers and Douglas firs and cedar trees and all these amazing, like all this amazing forest, and the tightness of the trails and the, you know, the texture of the mountain and how much it would go up and down. It just blew my mind, and still does to this day. As a prairie boy, the mountains will always blow my mind.
yeah, honestly, when I moved here, I can't imagine moving back, and like bless up to all those people in the land of the big skies. But there's something to be said about being nestled in the mountains, just absolutely hugged by them. And honestly, like the surreal aspect of being in the mountains and just feeling your mortality and how like teeny you are amongst something just so magnificent. And I mean, from our reference point, with time, eternal.
It's true. In fact, I always say to people, if you really are looking to connect and you're feeling a lack of connection, you're not really going to create the connections you might be looking for by, going with your friends to the bar and dancing and drinking and, these sort of surface level things. But if you get a group of friends that wants to go out and do backcountry skiing or snowmobiling or snowboarding, just as an example, the backcountry is so deadly dangerous that everyone immediately knows that you can die just by stepping into it. Forget about making a mistake. And the one thing about mistakes in that environment is that they snowball, and a very little mistake can turn into a very, very tragic, giant mistake in a very short period of time. And when all of the people that are hanging out with one another share that as their common theme and foundation of we're going out into the backcountry, and we could not only kill ourselves, we can kill the people we're with right now. We need to keep our senses. And it's why I enjoy going back there. I don't see people abusing alcohol back there, but I do see them enjoying a little puff. And I do see them taking it very seriously. We all go and get avalanche training. We carry shovels, we carry probes, we carry transponders. So if someone gets buried in an avalanche, we can find them in a very short period of time with our transponder, use our probe to locate them, and then dig straight down and get them out of the snow. And when you create relationships with a foundation like that, it's real. Like it is, there's really, really incredible connections. And it doesn't have to be snowmobiling, but there does seem to have to be a level of, hey, we shouldn't goof off too much. We should be aware of our mortality. And in that thought of just being aware and conscious of your own mortality, and that you have now entered sort of the food chain, even though it's really not the food chain, it's just nature, which is she can swallow you up like that, like without
She'll eat you for food, no
yeah,
problem. She has
she'll just
no
swallow you
qualms with
up.
that.
Like it won't even be a sound. You'll just be gone, And it happens. Like people fall through crevasses like hundreds of feet into the center of the glacier. People get buried. And so it's interesting. If you are looking for connection in life, I say to people, like, get out into the mountains, get out hiking, go out into the ocean, go swimming, go paddleboarding, go do
Yes.
something that puts your mortality not at risk, but in a hyper awareness of, I am now doing something that I could potentially perish doing. And in that, it's the opposite of sitting on your couch and watching TV, which is, it takes the time, but it passes the time, but it doesn't fulfill one's soul.
I agree. You feel so empty. Whereas, with what you're describing, it sounds like it really brings your all of your senses into heightened focus. And I know for myself, that's usually when you have these amazing memories that come through your ability to go back to that place because you were so present with what was going on. Like that acuity, to me, that's life. Like I wouldn't say risk your life to get there, but definitely, do some things that are out of your comfort zone. Like Netflix will be there. Don't worry. Like you can watch that anytime. Go have fun. Go outside.
They don't understand that, like, how to tap into this God that everyone's looking for is with your attention. And the thing that all these companies are stealing from you is
Yes.
your attention. They're
Yes.
stealing it. They're taking it because your attention is being monetized, and it's being like monetized to the level of billions and billions and billions of dollars. When you're just scrolling and you're getting sucked down rabbit holes, and you're just like, that's a company harvesting your attention. And if you take that attention and you use it for something that you want to use it for, you yourself can actually monetize your own attention. And more importantly, you can learn from your attention and acquire, exceptional states of being through being aware of your attention and where you're putting it.
I completely agree. And would you say too, I mean, one of the things that I've needed to do for my own mental health in the last few months, like I've had to go offline. Like I've had to like get off Instagram, get off Facebook, get off social media and just like take a break. Because what I found for myself, it was exactly that. It was like getting sucked down the rabbit hole. All of a sudden time has passed. I feel empty. I feel like I'm wanting something other than being, fully content and present with myself. And I find too, like it's mentally and emotionally exhausting. And I wonder if, not to be too like sinister, but it's like, yeah, they're monetizing your attention, but they're like literally sucking your life. And it reminds me of the Matrix, where you're the battery and all you're doing is, you're just getting plugged in and someone else is taking that from you. So I just think about, yeah, where do you want to put your attention and your intention? You and I both know when we're looking at manifesting, those are the two main things that you need in order to bring things into being. So if your
Well,
attention is fully focused and your intention is clear, and then action, because it can't just wishful thinking.
I would say that it's absolutely sinister beyond anything anyone could possibly imagine, unless the true program for this experience, which it is possible when you think of the fact that we, whether you believe it or not, it's very likely that we come from this source and then we're like splintered into this self, and we have this short experience where we can experience pain and pleasure and joy and sorrow. And then we get back to the source. But in the source, we can't experience this. This small little line of time that we're trapped in is literally like the most valuable real estate or game or whatever you want to call it in the universe. Like the souls are lined up with their quarters, just waiting for their turn to drop it in the slot and appear in a body and start being able to feel like pain and pleasure and all of these different things. And it's like, it's yin and yang. You just can't have the pleasure without the pain, and you can't have the light without the darkness. They're symbiotic, synergistic energies that cannot be divided. But in our perspective of this five sense prison, where we've been shattered and divided, all of our perspective is divided and shattered. And some people, unbelievably enough, spend their entire lives trying to get back to the source that they're inevitably going to and that they came from, figuring it out. It's like, no, this is the thing right here. You're in it right now. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. You already came from there and you're certainly going to end up over here. But that in between that spot, that's our free will. And that's the choices that we get to make.
Absolutely. 110%, honestly. And it's funny that you mentioned that too, because I'm reminded of the Buddha, the story of him right before he reached enlightenment. He had basically adopted this very ascetic type of lifestyle where he was like basically starving. And when he reached enlightenment, it was like the epiphany, like, oh my God, I'm in this body now. I'm here to experience this life. Like, that's the whole point. It is impermanent. Like, this isn't something that's going to go on forever. And that's why it's okay to enjoy the foods and enjoy the pleasure and enjoy the highs and the lows. And I really do believe that part of the way that we learn and evolve is through that light and dark balance, or that highs and lows, or the inner external, the things that we don't want with the things that we do. I feel like that is part of what keeps things churning. Like that is the evolutionary matrix, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that through, the perceived suffering, and that's something that we'll get into in a little bit, that's actually where the gold is. That's where the gemstones are. Like that's where like the juice of life really is. Especially when we get to a point where you're like, wow, I'm creating my own suffering. Maybe
I was on a talk recently with a bunch of people from Jamaica, and First Man, this Jamaican Rastafari guy, was like, he's like, what do you guys think of all this battle, all this negativity, all this evil that cannabis has had to overcome? And it's constantly fighting it. It's like this veil of good and evil. And he's like, me, that's where I think Rastafari resides. And when he said that, I was just like, of course, that's where Rastafari resides. That's where the Buddha resides. That's where all gods and that belief system of gods reside, in that thin veil of, you know, the good on one side and the evil on the other. That synergistic yin and yang again, right? Whatever that membrane is that puts the two together, that's where we all live. And every choice you make can either be that feminine or masculine, that right or left, that good or bad, and any other amount of divisions that you can come up with. And we've come up with a fair few.
Oh my goodness. Well, and with the yin and yang symbol, if you turn that into a 3D model, that actually creates a toroidal field. So it's a geometric, it's like it's a continual, it's almost like a donut that does this, which
Yeah.
is really cool. But you need to have that inner and the outer. That's the balance, you know, the yin and the yang, you know, the going within and then the externalizing. That's part of the whole magic. And I think where we get stuck is when we think it should only be good all the time. I should only feel good all the time. It should only be love and light. And I think that's where we get stuck. And, you know, one of the teachings that I've been looking at lately actually is by Eckhart Tolle. He's talking about, I forget who did the quote now. He says it was Shakespeare, but he was wrong. But basically, it was that, you know, there is no good and bad, but it's the mind that makes it so. It's our attachment to this narrative,
It is
you
our,
know?
that's the whole Buddha trip, right? Like they're like, listen, if you want to come over here and there's a couple of key belief systems we need to wipe from your mind. A, that death is permanent. It's not, it's just an illusion and it's just a continuation, just like everything is a continuation. That right away would relieve an enormous amount of people's day-to-day stress.
Energy cannot be created or destroyed. That's physics.
Exactly. Exactly. And so that's a big one. And also just not getting attached to things. You know, the more we become attached to things, the more we set ourselves up for the crushing blow of disappointment and sorrow and pain that we feel when those people are stripped from us. And the Buddhists don't feed into that because they realize, well, listen, that person's not gone. Their body might be gone, but they're still here. I mean, look at, you know, they'd be talking to you about the Buddha himself. They're like, look, the Buddha's outlived himself by thousands of years. He's still here in his teachings, in the way people mindfully walk or talk or eat or doing, you know, the Buddhists' mindset of mindfulness, really. There's a great book that I'm actually reading right now called The Art of Living by Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
a great
I
book.
love his teachings. Oh my goodness. Big fan. Yes. I think he just recently passed not too long ago, correct?
It's possible. He must have been in his 90s if he finally did pass away, because he lived a long, fruitful life.
What's something that you've gotten from the book so far?
Well, just I mean, all of what I even just mentioned, I got from that book, and really just the overall patience and calm, and sort of, you know, like, listen, there are ways to think that create more anxiety and stress, and there are ways to think that create less anxiety and stress. And really, like, just the simple belief system that people die and then they're gone and then you never see them again and it's just the end and it's fucking terrible and oh my god. Or, well, yeah, that person's body's going to die eventually, but their words and their love and their relationships and their teachings and all of those things will live on, sometimes even more so through the continuation that is your child. So you continue your genetics through your children, and you can have like all these little idiosyncrasies and subtle movements and facial twitches and, oh, I curl my toes at night, and like just weird things that pass down through genetics, and it's all part of the psychedelic trip.
Speaking of psychedelic trip, just as a fun FYI, we're actually in the process of applying for several Section 56 exemptions. And Dr. Fair should be prescribing psilocybin in the new year.
Wow, that's amazing.
I'm so excited. So we're going to be embarking on one of those frontiers in the near future.
That's
and honestly, every day I get phone calls at the clinic of people curious about microdosing, either with migraines, you know, or people at end of life that, you know, are experiencing a lot of anxiety. It can help in so many different ways. And really, like, it's found to be benign in like for harm wise, like you really can't hurt yourself.
It's one of
The
my strongest mentors I've had in my life for the last like 30 plus years, from, ordering spores from Terrence McKenna and Kat McKenna's company, Syzygy in Hawaii, growing those out and in grain in my closet back in like 1990, 91. Cultivating mushrooms and sharing them out with our community and getting people to consume less alcohol. And like, there was no doubt about what a positive force it was. Always had a strong connection with the mushrooms, got turned on to Terrence McKenna very young, 17, 18, started listening to his Institute of Esalen talks with Rupert Sheldrake, the cell biologist, and Ralph Abraham, the fractal mathematician. They have a great book, all three of them together, called Trialogues at the Edge of the West, which is absolutely phenomenal. It's just these three amazingly intelligent beings speaking and creating a trialogue, and that ends up being the book. But yeah, and then getting turned on to Paul Stamets so early on and starting to hunt and discover and identify my own psychedelic mushrooms out in nature and starting to pick stunzies and semilenciatas and baeocystins and cyanescens and all of these incredible experiences, thanks to, just a kind of a couple of different giants who I was able to stand on the shoulders of. And now they've come back again full force with me, like recently I've started finding them everywhere. Like I found a lot of mushrooms this year, cyanescens. I also picked edible mushrooms this year. That's how it started. I got pulled to the chanterelles and the morels and the lobsters and the cauliflowers. And the next thing you know, we're out looking for cyanescens and we're finding them every time we go out. And I actually found with a friend the single largest patch of cyanescens I've ever seen in my life. We were giggling like schoolgirls. We're just like,
it's so exciting. I have
incredible.
to say though, you got to be responsible when you're harvesting, which I know you are. The adage is, take 10% or less, leave the rest. I like to say take 5% just because
it's not even how much you take as much as it's how you take it. And you really want to make sure you pinch the mushroom off or you cut it nicely and you don't pull the mushroom right out of the mycelium, or you can damage the spawn. And when you damage the spawn, the network, remember the mushrooms themselves are just fruiting vessels. And if you understand worldwide the amount of tonnage of mushrooms that just never get picked, it's painful. Like really painful. So pick the mushrooms. Don't feel bad. Don't pick them if they're going to be a waste. Obviously, when I see people pick 400 lobster mushrooms, and I'm like, what could you possibly do with all those lobster mushrooms? Like that's a lot. But for psychedelics like this, particular patch that we found, guaranteed no one else knows where this patch is. It was almost impossible to find. And what we didn't pick would for sure just rot away into the earth. Like
I'm wondering if you feel the same, but it's like the mushrooms call you.
Oh,
like
they called
like
us.
they're hiding in plain sight until they're like, I want you to find me. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, right there. They're right in front of my face. I didn't even see them.
There's no doubt about it. They even brought me back with a longtime friend that I haven't been not friends with, but we used to spend every single day together, both of our families for a decade plus. And then we sort of, kind of had to go our own ways. They moved out a little ways further and we all got busy doing stuff. And now it's kind of full circle coming back. And he was one of the people I showed about picking mushrooms when I learned. And shout out to Paul DeFelice and Terry from the Kootenays, who turned me on to picking mushrooms, who took me out for my first baeocystin and semilenciata pick in Maple Ridge, I think it was.
It's a good little area, I'm not gonna lie. My first time the first time I went out with my Opa, I was like 8, I think, and we were in the Cusp area, and we were there in the fall time anyways. And we were just doing identification. I didn't want to pick anything. But one of the things that he mentioned to me is that, what's indigenous here that's safe to eat might not be safe to eat, looks similar in another country. So you have to really know what you're doing with the mushrooms before you harvest. Obviously you do.
You know what? That's what I love about the mushroom as well. It takes you back into that I'm in nature and I could die vibe. Like you should not treat the mushroom with disrespect. You should have extreme respect for the mushroom and you should have humility for the mushroom, because the mushroom can put you in renal failure and kill you in a very short period of time if you eat, say, a deadly gallerina, which is somewhat of a bit of a kind of copycat to certain psilocybin mushrooms, but it's very easy to tell if it's a psilocybin mushroom. The bluing is obviously huge. When you bruise it and it turns blue, that's a good sign. A lot of them, cyanescence included on the top, will have this thin see-through veil that you can like peel off, and it's like almost like slime. And then the most intensely easiest way to tell from my perspective is to cut the stem off, put the cap down, and let the spore print fall for a day or two. I put a glass over it, let the spores fall. You won't even need a microscope, but you can get one if your eyes are really bad, but it'll be purple. And the poisonous ones will be rusty brown. And there's no mixing the two up. They couldn't stand out. They stand out as much as humanly possible. One is dark and one is quite light. And those are the ways you'll tell psilocybin mushrooms from poisonous mushrooms. I would urge anyone that wants to play around with it, find a amateur mycologist that you can go out with. When in doubt, throw them out in regards to the mushrooms. And buy Paul Stamets' book, Mushroom Growers Around the World, because it is spectacular.
It's such a good book. Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate the lesson. And hopefully someday I can come out mushroom picking with you. I'd love to learn.
It'd be amazing. Absolutely.
Oh, I love it. Well, there was several things I wanted to share about tonight's episode, and I feel like we've kind of touched on all of it, which is really exciting. I just wanted to ask, was there anything that you wanted to share with everyone that's with us now about, you know, the winter solstice in general? Anything that kind of tickles your fancy? Obviously, you've got a week off. I was able to make a week off for myself too, which I'm really excited about. I know for myself tonight, I'm going to be doing a big burn outside. Controlled burn, obviously. I'm going to be doing some salt bath, which is really just great for just purifying the body and kind of resetting stuff. And then I'm actually going to be popping some seeds. I don't know if you guys can see these. Nice. These were gifted to me from Philippe Henry. These are, these are BC Godbud crossed with houndstooth. So I'm really excited to pop some babies and start.
That's what you'll get out of that god. There'll be
What will I get?
You'll get a dominant osamine terpene in that cultivar.
Okay, thank you. Well, when it's done, I'll send you some.
I wouldn't say no.
I'm so excited. So I know for me, this time of year is a very sacred time. Obviously, in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the longest night. It's the darkest time. Oftentimes, people are feeling a little bit squirrely, and considering the year we've had, I mean, mental health is a big theme. And one of the things I just wanted to mention to everyone that's watching is if you do feel like you're struggling and you do need help, please call a hotline, whether it's a suicide hotline or a mental health hotline. If you have friends that are suffering and you suspect that they need some help, instead of waiting for them to reach out, which unfortunately they probably won't, just reach out to them, just touch base, just say, hey, remind them that you care and that you love them. Oftentimes, you know, even just that gesture can mean so much and really help shake up the energy, because, you know, for the people that have been isolating, it's been a lonely time. And for the people that haven't been, it's also been a very tumultuous time. And like you were mentioning too, Marcus, I mean, there's this dichotomy that seems to be playing out. And I am going to be doing a future episode on this idea of equanimity. So really being able to find the middle path and stay aligned with yourself and not get pushed and pulled in certain directions depending on the information that you're being fed at the time, which unfortunately I've seen a lot of people struggle with. So what it really requires is for you to know yourself, really get into alignment with you, and being able to discern where you want to put your energy. And instead of it being reactive, it's actually a response if it calls for one. And I just want to remind everybody that there's always a more peaceful path if you choose it. So hopefully tonight's meditation will help you with that.
Yeah.
I know that there's actually been quite a few, I've had a lot of phone calls in the last few weeks from patients who have passed or family members of patients who have passed. So I know, you know, a lot of people are really dealing with grief. And I think collectively there's a grief going on, regardless of what narrative, you know, you follow. I think a lot of people are grieving, and grief can show up in a lot of really weird ways. You know, like I know for myself, you know, feeling like you don't really have energy, or, you know, feeling spacey, or that you can't focus, or that your passion is gone. Like these types of things can come up for people. And I just want to remind everybody that it's pretty normal right now. It's not fun to go through. And what we're going to be doing together isn't about spiritually bypassing that. It's really about going into it and allowing. Because like we were talking about, you know, instead of trying to avoid, deny, and get away from yucky feelings, you know, the Buddhist idea really is to surrender to it, to accept, to allow. We don't have to like it. But what I found, even in my own personal experience, is when you finally surrender to those uncomfortable feelings, of course they're going to wash and move through you, because feelings are water, they're emotion, they need to move. But once they do, it's almost like a space creates itself. You know, it's almost like there's like a container that's just been so tight and bottled up, and finally you let some of that gunk out. And maybe the container is not totally empty yet, but there's more space in that container. And if I know anything about the universe loves a vacuum. So when you create space, other things can come in. And I think what's really important too is to be mindful about what you want to replace that with. You know, a lot of us have been so stuck in the grief and the exhaustion of this year, especially with all the changes, you know, needing to pivot a lot, make adjustments to the way that we live our life. I think it's really important for us to honor what's true. And I know for me, it's been taking a break. It's been allowing myself to rest more. So for those of you watching, if you need permission to rest, please rest. Please take that nap. Please allow yourself to sleep more. If you need more water, please drink more water. That's one of the first things that you can look at when you're trying to rebuild your energy. Also taking a look at the types of foods that you're putting into your body. A lot of people who are stressed out are eating salty foods or sugary foods to try and give themselves that temporary satisfaction. Often if you're craving salt, usually you're stressed, but what's happening more so is that you're craving minerals. And the sugar is a clear indication that, you know, you're lacking joy in your life, you know? So my Oma used to say, sweeten up your life. So trying to find some things like going out into nature to help sweeten some things up, really important, you know? So if you're going through that, just consider some of those things. Other things to consider, like I was sharing, you know, I went off social media for a while because it was not good for my health. And even though it was hard, it wasn't the best for my business. It was what I needed to do for me. Oh, I love your background. I love your crystal cave. Yes.
You told me to go out in nature, so I went out to my ice cave up in the Pemberton ice caps.
You know what's crazy is you don't even know the meditation we're doing today, but you are so on point. I love it. I absolutely love it. So keep that in mind, because we are going to be having some fun time in some crystal caves. Other things I just wanted to mention too to people, it's okay to say no. Holidays are a crazy time. And, you know, I think part of the suffering that we get into is when we feel obligated and when we feel like we have to do something. And what I found is the more we can exercise healthy boundaries, the more people will respect those boundaries. And I highly encourage you to practice saying no, especially if it's something you don't want to do or you don't want to participate in. That's okay. This year has been ridiculous. Give yourself a break. Really. Another thing I wanted to share, you know, obviously going into nature, but moving your body. You know, at this time of year, a lot of people are hibernating. You know, they're eating their feelings, which is fine, but it might be good to also move. So if you're able to go outside, go for a walk, even if it's a walk just around your street, it'll help. If you're not walking around your street, go into your backyard or your front yard, go look at, you know, the snow or the dead something outside. Just get yourself back into nature. Yeah. Now that's some fun mushrooms.
Look how many there are in the background.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Amanitas. There was like 27 of them.
Is this your picture?
Yeah, I took these pictures.
Oh my God. Okay. I can't even, what was your moment when you saw that where you're like,
it blew my mind. I was just like, are you kidding me? These are just right here. These are here.
They were calling you. They were like, hey.
This was the start of it. These were the start of it calling me back. And then all of a sudden it's just, I can't even tell you how many strange coincidences I've had with the mushroom in just the last year. And just
strange coincidences, hey, or like perfect alignments.
Yeah, the coincidence, as the mushroom likes to say.
It is the coincidence. That's so rad. So yeah, if you want a coincidence, dance. It'll help to move some stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, even if it's just like shaking, and you feel weird, at least if you can like get some of that energy out, it can be really helpful around this time of year. And
Totally.
realistically, you might be burnt out. So a lot of people have kind of gone into like go mode this year, trying to make it work, trying to pivot, trying to da 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 da. It's the trying. I really want to give you some permission to just surrender and stop trying and start allowing. Like Marcus, you know Danielle Hugenblum. She gifted me with this awesome adage a few years ago: retreat to advance. You
Oh,
know, sometimes you need to retreat inside yourself or go into your little chrysalis cocoon, is what I'm calling it, in order to move forward. And that's okay. You know, this idea that we're supposed to be go, go, go all the time, I think is insanity. You know, when I think about us and our relationship to nature, it's all about following the cycles. And right now, this is like the pinnacle death time of the year. You know, we're deep into the underworld, we're deep into the dark. It's not time for you to like make everything happen. It might actually be time for you to rest
totally.
and cultivate your energy. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if that resonates with you, but I know that's where I've been at. Just honoring what nature is
I
asking.
keep thinking of my old friend, bushy older grower. We called him Bog. And he was
Bushy older grower.
bushy
Okay.
older grower. And bushy older grower, I just found out, passed away a couple of days ago. And
Oh, I'm
he was just
sorry.
such a nice man. He bred all these beautiful cultivars, one of them called Sour Bubble. That was really like all of his stuff was just nice. He was one of the OG guys on overgrow.com. And when I got onto overgrow.com, he immediately bought himself some bubble bags and we started becoming friends and back and forth. And he would promote, his cultivars by the hash that he made and promote the bags. And he was just an all around awesome guy. And I was very sad to hear that he passed away. So I think I will puff a bowl in his honor.
I was going to say, let's have a toke for him. Seriously, he sounds so epic. And I appreciate all of the work that he put into continuing the life of cannabis in this world today. What's one thing that you really like loved about him that you think, when we're talking about people living on through the memories and through their stories?
Well, you know what? I mean, he was just kind of a funny old guy. He was older than most of us when we all got on there. But the thing that I really appreciated about him was his eye for photography. And he was by no means an Ansel Adams photographer. He was but his plants were so nice. The subject he was shooting was so nice. Even if he took an over flashed out shot, it would just shine every head on his plant like diamonds. And even that became like a bushy older grower shot where you were like, oh my God, like that beautiful. All of his photography was just really great. He didn't take shit from anyone, but he definitely, was passionate about growing cannabis and getting great cannabis cultivars into the hands of the people. So I appreciated him.
Aw, well, let's all have a big bong rip for him.
I agree. Let's get some, we'll put this on here for now.
Nice.
Right.
And my eye keeps tearing, so I'm just going to accept that as also moving energy. I know for me, this last month, I'm feeling it. I'm like, oh my God, bless his heart.
You know what happens if you cry when you're a man? People say, don't cry. No, really, don't cry.
And my thing is like, let it flow. I don't know. For me personally, I think it's wonderful to see people honoring their feelings. This idea of men not being feeling, not being nurturing, and women only being nurturing and only being soft, like that dichotomy needs to die. Like one of the things that I love about this time is we're really challenging this idea of what gender means, and gender is a construct and it can change. I look at like Harry Styles, his Vogue cover. I was so impressed. He like rocked the shit out of that dress. Beautiful.
I seen him in an SNL skit the other day and it was pretty funny.
He's good. Honestly, he's good shit. One of my favorite songs right now is that Watermelon Sugar song, just because it's so like, it's nice. I play it to my girls in the morning, my girls.
I'd never heard of him until he put the dress on and everyone made a big stink about it. That's how you hear about things nowadays. If you want to get into the media, just get in under that particular narrative right now and you'll get some attention.
The gender narrative? Yeah, it's interesting. There's a few people that I follow online who I really appreciate. One, Alok Menon. They are amazing out of New York, doing some really great challenges to what the norms can be. And one of the things that Alok mentioned that I loved is, in order to change culture, you need to show up and be present. You need to give a new image of what's normal in the park, you know? So for them, you know, they are a hairy bodied person who wears these amazing dresses and outfits, who they're just incredible. So big fan. And I don't know, I love the idea of challenging gender. I think it's cool. I was actually really impressed in the last year to just see the narrative shift so much around that. And of course, there's always going to be the haters and the people that are uncomfortable. And it's not about, you know, everyone has to like kumbaya, but let's just accept, you know, it's not even about tolerate. Let's just accept each other as people so we can live our best lives.
It's very true. Got to just accept. People trip out. People get triggered hard.
Yeah, they do. And it's interesting when people get triggered. I used to get really reactive, and now I get really curious. I'm like, wow, like what core trauma just touched there? Like, what's that all about? And a lot of compassion. Yeah. A lot of compassion towards the hate. I think it was you that shared with me, you know, sometimes when people get trolly online, it's really because they've got some shit going on inside, and it's like their own poison is coming out, and it's really not about you at all. And to have more compassion, where it's like, dude, like, I hope you heal. Like, I hope you can resolve that. You know, here's a mirror. What's this picture behind you there?
That's lion's mane.
Ah, beauty. I can't see it very up close. Oh, there it is. Oh, lion's mane. What am I doing?
Lion's mane. I love looking for them all out in nature, you know?
I'm sure they appreciate you looking for them. I'm not going to lie. It's like, they're like, find me.
Call you forth, right? I'm certain of it. It all started really with the red-belted polypore, this guy right here. We have a lot of them behind our house, and my son started kind of asking about them. Conch. We picked one that we have as a specimen now, that when we talk about it, we have it. But so many other mushrooms, and, you know, just finding like turkey tail and finding witch's brew and finding I found morels on the trail right behind my house here, which is incredible. One of the bonuses of living on the West Coast temperate rainforest.
Well, I know Paul Stamets loved it so much that he moved to Canada, so that's pretty special.
Paul Stamets? Who? Where is he?
I love him so much. Actually, do you remember when we went to his talk and I cried because I was like, he found a way to save the bees?
Here, look, I'll be like, I'm carrying the agarikon.
I have a picture of that agarikon. I'm holding it with Tash.
I remember. I was standing right there if I didn't even maybe take the picture.
I think you actually did take the picture. It was you or Steven. I'm not too sure who, but yes, that was a special night.
I recorded that night as well.
Where can people find that talk?
They can find it right here on Bubble Man's World. If you punch in Bubble Man's World and Paul Stamets, I think I've only recorded 2 or 3, but the 2 or 3 that I did, I put up on YouTube. So
okay, It's such a good talk, you guys. Please watch it. You might be like moved to tears with joy over some of his discoveries. Like, I just cannot say enough good stuff about Paul Stamets. He's amazing.
Totally concur and agree.
Oh, I love it. I love your sunset there. That's so appropriate.
Yeah, I figured this is what I'd ride it out with. I've been changing it too much.
I like it. Well, you know, it seems about appropriate. I think everyone is comfortably medicated. They've had their devotion. How do you feel about jumping into meditation?
Yeah, give her a go. I'm going to be sitting here listening along.
Sounds good.
Turn the camera off at one point, but keep going. I'll be here.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I just want to invite everybody that's with us. If you're tuning in a little bit later, you might want to pause this, go to the washroom really quick, come back and grab a water. We're going to just dive in. And what I'd really like to ask is, for those of you who are joining us, if you feel comfortable, either in the live chat or in the comments below, let us know what your winter solstice intentions are. If you're joining us in the Northern Hemisphere, if you're watching this at a different date and maybe you're struggling, you're going through some dark stuff right now, let us know what are some things that you're looking to shift and move. One of the things that I haven't touched on yet is this concept of the dark night of the soul. Marcus, are you familiar?
The what?
The dark night of the soul.
I don't think so.
Okay. So the dark night of the soul is it's basically a spiritual crisis that a lot of people go through as they're moving towards transcendence. And what ends up happening for a lot of people is seemingly it feels like their connection with their self, their spirituality, their community starts to lessen. Oftentimes there is a melancholy that can take over, where there really isn't any passion or joy left. Things feel gray. And oftentimes what that really is it's a call for you to learn how to cultivate that inner light. And usually what happens with the dark night of the soul, it can last a couple nights, it can last months, it can, for some people, last years. But what it really is asking for you to do is, instead of finding those things outside of you and externalizing, it's really about being able to turn within and getting in touch and into alignment with yourself and finding your inner light, so to speak. And oftentimes it happens for people, because I've gone through one. It was rough. It took me a good year. But again, it was the surrender. It was the acceptance. It was, maybe I am going to feel like this, but I'm just going to trust myself anyways. I'm just going to trust my connection with the divine. I'm just going to trust what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing, and allowing whatever to unfold. And what I found for me was, when I surrendered and let go, which, in psychedelics is really step one, a whole new world began to unfold for me, and I can even share, even last week, I was feeling very melancholy. I had a moment where I was crying in my grow room with my girls, kind of like, what's going on? Waffles, my cat is coming up and giving me snuggles, like, Mom, you need to get it out. So I had a good cry, and it was interesting because those tears ended up turning into tears of laughter at the end. Again, it was the surrender to those uncomfortable feelings. It's not fighting it anymore. It's not trying to change things. It's really just allowing things to be. And that's usually when the energy shifts. So the reason I brought it up is because, a lot of people might be feeling grief. They might be feeling depression at this time. They might just be feeling this season, seasonal affectiveness disorder is real, and not being able to get that sunlight can be, a real challenge for people. But I wanted to bring about these different nuances of these heavier energies that some people might be feeling right now, and just remind you that it's normal and that this too will pass. Emotions are meant to move. So it is impermanent. It's not going to be with you forever. And I really just want to invite you to surrender, because that's where the magic is. So as we dive in, I'd love for you to take a moment with your beautiful cannabis. So in whatever form you have it in, I've got this gorgeous nug here for my outdoor grow. Marcus, I know you had your dabs. For those of you who are, maybe using tincture or edible, what I really want to invite you to do is just take a moment and look and connect with the spirit and the essence of the plant. And as you're looking, notice the structure. If it's a bottle of CBD, that's cool. Notice the color. Notice the aroma. Bring your senses, your 5 senses, back into alignment, into this now moment. And as you're appreciating cannabis, say thank you. Thank her for all of the joy that she brings to your life, for the relief of your aches and pains, for that perceptual shift that all of us need sometimes, for the reminder that we do have a friend who cares, who continues to show up. Notice her beautiful crystals if you can see them. Look at those gorgeous trichomes. And just really take a moment to appreciate her and to love her, because she loves you. She really does. I can't imagine cannabis showing up again and again and again, considering how some of humanity has treated her, only to offer the best of her fruits in order for us to enjoy and heal with. So after you've had a moment of devotion, I want to invite you to get comfy. You can either do this meditation sitting or laying down. If you decide to lay down, just be mindful you might fall asleep. The biggest, most important thing is that your back is straight. So the reason we want to have a straight back is because this energy channel that runs in our body needs a straight shot up and out. If we're all kinked over, it's harder for the energy to move, and it's more likely that the energy is going to get stuck. Part of what we're going to be doing today is a body scan. We're going to be releasing some energy that either isn't ours or doesn't serve us anymore. So posture is important. Again, if you have water, have a sip of water. Hydration is life. Water is life. I'm going to show you guys these are all the ashes that I've had from the last year. So this is part of the ceremony that I'll be doing this evening, where I'm actually burying these ashes back into my garden in order to create a new energy for the new year. And what I've got on the top here is a beautiful chunk of hand-picked buffalo sage, white buffalo sage. That was picked by an elder in our region. He's wonderful. His name is Charles. He's a Cree elder, and he gifted that to me. So I'm going to be lighting that now. The other thing I'm going to be lighting is an intention candle, and it's right in front of me here. I'll show you. So if you have a candle near, do not close your eyes with it lit. But just know that this light can represent the light in those dark, dark times. So if you ever decide to do a meditation like this with your eyes open, by all means light that candle. I give this warning because I do have a girlfriend whose house, bless her heart, oh my goodness, just burnt down. She's about 2 months away from giving birth. And it was an innocent candle left in the bedroom. So please be safe with your fire. But I've lit my sage now. And the thing that I love about sage too is as it burns, it's actually bringing your prayers and your intentions up towards Great Spirit. So for me on this winter solstice, my intention really is to shed all of those layers and aspects of myself that are no longer serving me and the world, and to then create space in order for new energy, new inspirations, new projects and desires, new purpose to come in. So please take a moment and set your intention for this meditation. And if you want to share it in the chat, by all means, share it in the chat. Awesome. I'm just seeing if you guys are adding anything in the chat here about your intentions. The reason why it's so important to set your intentions before you start is because the energy that we cultivate from this point forward is going to be guided by those intentions. So really just be clear with yourself. If you want to write it down, you're more than welcome to. What some people do is they actually write their intentions on a piece of paper and then they'll burn it. Again, be fire safe, but you can do that too as part of this. Awesome. So as we get clear, I'm actually going to be ringing a Tibetan singing bowl. This is attuned to A and F flat, or sorry, F sharp, my apologies. So this is attuned to the pineal gland. I purchased this from my friends Perla and Satish. And I just want to offer this resonance to you as a way to wash and shake clean any stuck energies that might be hindering you now. At the end of the meditation, I will ring the bowl again so we know that we're complete. So I invite you now, as you get comfortable and settled, to close your eyes. If you've lit a candle, maybe blow it out or keep your eyes open. We're going to begin. And the first thing I'd like for you to do is to take a few deep, conscious breaths. And as you breathe, I invite you to notice the surface beneath you and notice how it supports you. Notice how the earth, our mother, offers her support and holds you up. So much love. Continue to breathe and bring your awareness in. Notice how the breath feels. Notice the coolness of the breath on the inhalation and the warmth on the exhalation. And as we continue to breathe, we're going to move into a visualization. A couple of key things. Your imagination is real. And everybody sees and experiences this inner world slightly differently. So if you can't see something, notice instead the feelings. Notice instead the sensations. And don't get hung up on it being perfect. Instead, allow your emotions to be your guide. As we continue to breathe, bringing our awareness in now into our heart space. Taking a moment to tune into our energy. And as you bring your awareness into your heart, I invite you to notice that there is a light there. There may be a color. It might look like a flicker or a flame. This is your pure essence. This is who you are. And with this flame or this essence, we can do many things. And as we go through this meditation together now, we're going to learn some skills and tools in order to move through the long, dark night by allowing our inner light to guide the way. In your mind's eye, I invite you to go somewhere that's safe and comfortable and secure. This may be a place that you've been before, or it might be somewhere completely new. Wherever this is for you, I invite you to go there now. And you can anchor yourself there with your breath. So feeling your breath, looking around this space. What do you notice? What colors and sensations are here? Make yourself familiar. If you can, reach out and touch it with your mind's eye. And really make a memory. Notice how you feel when you are in this place. And as you continue to look around, you notice that in the distance, there's a door. And because we're curious, Let's go up and explore this door. Now, this door can lead anywhere, but today it's going to lead to a forest and to a clearing. So, as you continue to look at this door, it begins to open, and you see the forest floor beyond the door. And when you're ready, I invite you to step through the door into the forest. As you step through, the door shuts behind you, but it's there, and you know how to get back when you need to. Take a look around the forest. Notice what life forms are here. Notice the smells. Notice the sensations. Notice your feet on the ground. And when you're ready, we begin to walk forward on a path in the forest. And as we continue to walk forward, we notice that there is a clearing there. As we move forward, getting closer to the clearing, we notice that the tree line approaches, and we walk past it. You can hear the life forms that are housed and homed in the forest. All of these creatures being nurtured and nourished by Gaia. And as we walk through the forest, we're reminded that we are nature. We're not a guest here, we're a part of the forest. Making our way towards the clearing now, we notice that it begins to get dark. And as the sun sets, we look up and we see the beautiful starry sky. All of the twinkling stars above us, shining, illuminating the dark, reminding us that we are not alone. And in the middle of the clearing, we decide to take a seat and look up. Take a few more deep, conscious breaths here. Now we're going to do some really fun work. So like I said, your imagination is real. So I invite you to build some type of housing space. Maybe for you, it's a cabin in the woods. Maybe it's an earth ship that's built out of all of these natural components from the earth that are found just around you. Maybe you decide to create a crystal cave. Whatever you decide to make for you, I invite you to do this now and have fun. Pulling different things together. And a couple of key elements that I'd like you to include in the structure is a very comfortable meditation spot for yourself, a place for a wonderful book to sit, and an area where there's like a shelf where you can put things. Now, as you continue to make things incredible in your space, I ask that you wind it down now and get comfortable in your beautiful meditation area that you've created just for you. Remind yourself that this is a sacred place that only you know about. Only you can go. It's just for you. Take a few more deep breaths and really feel yourself settle there. We know that it will be a long night, the longest night. And although we may be unable to see many things in the dark, we're assured that we are still in control and that we still carry that flame within us. So as we sit in this chair, let us take a moment and tune into our energy. And something you may or may not be aware of is sometimes we carry other people's energy on us through a hug or a story or a shared crisis. Even beliefs can get stuck in our energy field. And it's important to be able to discern between other people's energy and our own. And this beautiful flicker of light within us can help us do just that. So, with our breath, what I invite you to do is expand this light from inside your heart. And I invite you to push out anything in your energetic bubble that doesn't belong to you. And it doesn't have to be mean, it can be done with love. And what we ask is that this energy that's being pushed out now gets cultivated at your feet. And with our imagination, we're going to light a hearth, a little bit of a fire. But this fire is really special because it doesn't burn like regular fires burn. It burns with this beautiful violet flame. And you'll notice that in the center of that flame, it burns gold. And what ends up happening to these energies that no longer serve us, that don't belong to us, is they are transmuted into pure light, into pure energy. Because energy cannot be created nor destroyed, it just transitions into the next. So as we put these energies into our violet flame, we watch them transmute and go back into the universe. If you want to manifest a chimney, you can absolutely do that. If you want to see it going out the window or out the door, you can do that as well. Some people will envision this as ashes that then get absorbed back into the earth. Either way, I invite you to transmute and release all of those energies that don't belong to you. Allow them to go back to source. Or you can return to sender, whatever you prefer. You might notice that there's a lightness that comes about your own energy once we release these heavier aspects or versions of reality that never belonged to us in the first place. You might notice that you feel lighter, that your inner light burns brighter. And because the universe loves a vacuum, it's important that we replace these energies with an energy that we truly want. So to start, bring your awareness to your heart. Notice your flicker, your flame, your light. And with every breath, expand that light to fill all of those pockets of energy, illuminating your auric field until it exists about 6 feet beyond your physical body. Notice what that energy feels like for you. Notice what you feel like. Notice what your pure essence is. And let's just hang out there for a minute. Let us make a memory. when we feel tired and heavy, and as if we are living through the longest, darkest night, let us remind ourselves of our light, of what we feel like, what my essence feels like, who you are. You're not a story. You're not a culmination of experiences. You're much greater than that. And as if for the first time, I invite you to look at yourself as the fully embodied light being that you are. Here on this planet, in your body. And from this vantage point, you can see that you are so much bigger than this form. And you have chosen to incarnate for very important reasons, some of which you will be consciously aware of, some of which will reveal themselves in time. But in viewing the grandness of who you are, we imprint this memory into the subconscious mind. And we allow this illumination to expand. Although it is dark outside of the structure that you've built for yourself, your light begins to pour out beyond it, illuminating the clearing in the forest, illuminating the forest. And as you continue to feel what your greatness feels like, I invite you to say thank you to you for being here now. As we continue to breathe, reveling in this light that we bring, that is already within us. We don't need anything outside of us. It is right here. We choose to then create something that will symbolize this next cycle. So you notice as you turn into your heart that there's these little seeds that you can pull out one by one. So let's pull one out. And with your imagination, take a look at this seed. It might be a cannabis seed. I know mine is. Yours might be something else. You might not know what kind of plant the seed is. But this seed is your intention. And although it is dark outside, the soil is fertile and it is ready to receive your seed. So as you're glowing and you're walking outside of your beautiful structure you've created, I invite you with your imagination to build a garden plot, to find the perfect place for this seed to be planted on this long, dark night, to give hope for the next cycle, this next wheel of time. This seed might glisten like a gemstone. Jewel in German means gemstone, which translates to wheel. So with your beautiful seed, I invite you to plant it into your fertile soil. Gift it with the love of you covering it with this beautiful, living, microbially rich soil. And watch in your mind's eye the mycelium illuminate as they receive it, and they delight in this new intention planted for them to help nurture and nourish into life. As if by a thought. This little cute stormy cloud comes and begins to rain on your seed. Allow it to soak up and nourish itself with this beautiful, healthy water. Allow the cloud to exist in the distance, offering its water and its nurturance as needed. And now in our mind's eye, let's quicken the growth process. Let's speed up time a little bit. Notice that the days and nights begin to cycle faster, and you see your seed growing in rapid time, breaking through the soil, opening and expanding, twirling in its perfect spiral of the cosmos, growing up and big and strong. Notice how powerful your intention is. Notice how vibrant and alive it is. And notice how happy this seed is to have been planted to grow into this beautiful plant standing before you. And this is an invitation. You can do the same with other seeds. So you notice again in your heart that there's another seed. So with this seed, I'd like to invite you to set another intention for this next year cycle, from this winter solstice to the next. And just like we did before, we plant the seed, we cover that seed with that delicious soil. Our little cloud friend comes over and waters it, giving it the nutrients and the nourishment that it needs, the water for life. And we see that intention grow as well. And if you're not too sure what that intention is, I'm going to pause here and give you space to really set that intention for this next year, this next spin around the sun, this next wheel of time that you'd like to create in your world. Now, this might be an intention for you. This also might be an intention for the planet. It might be an intention for humanity. It might be an intention that I can't even describe. But the invitation is for you to take the time and set this intention. And just as before, there are more seeds in your heart that you can continue to plant. So I'm going to pause and give you some time to plant those seeds and watch them grow. Very good. As we take joy in watching our garden flourish, creating so much life that nurtures us and we nurture it in return. This symbiotic relationship never ends. And you'll notice that as your heart space expands and gets brighter, so too do these plants. You're tethered in some of the most incredible ways. And if you are one of those who had the violet flame create ashes, I invite you to go and carry those ashes and bring them to your garden, allowing them to be mulched in as compost to feed these future visions that you have for yourself, these future intentions that we've now seen manifest here and now. You notice how happy these plants are. And you notice that you have many more seeds in your heart. You remind yourself that you can come back here anytime. So as we revel in our gardens, we go back into the structure that we've created. We sit down at our meditation space and we notice that there's a few more things that are made available. Now there is a book stand, but on there is a book. And you take a look at it. And this is actually the book of your life. And you notice as you open it that there's some pages that are empty and there's some pages that are full of stories that help to shape and guide who you are today. Now, there might also be some things in this book that you're ready to be done with. So you notice on your table on the other side that there's actually a beautiful flame. If you wanted to take a couple of these pages that no longer serve you, maybe they're embarrassing thoughts or things that you're thinking back to and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. Or maybe some mistakes that you've made that you're holding on to. I invite you to rip some of those pages out of that book and to burn them. And just like we saw with that violet flame, these memories, these things that we're ready to release, get released into the ethers, or they become more ash for compost. Either way, I invite you to take these things and let them go. Let them go. Your energy is precious. Your light is precious. As you go back to this book, put your hand on it and thank it for documenting all of the adventures that you've had so far and all of the ones that are still ahead of you. You're welcome to put the book down, or if you want to pick up a pen and write a few things on a few pages of things you'd like to see happen in the story of your life, I want to invite you to do that now. After you've put your book back down and you're sitting in your comfy meditation area, I want to invite you to bring your awareness back to that essence within your heart, that light. What this light truly is your presence, your ability to be fully aware and awake in this now moment. It is the greatest gift, and it is yours to hone at any given time. When you bring your attention and your focus, your awareness, and your whole being to something, whether it's a relationship or your garden and your relationship with your plants, or a project or something you're creating, an inspiration. When we bring that light, our presence, wholly to that experience, that is what grounds us through and beyond these long, dark nights. Sometimes it's important for us to be present with uncomfortable emotions and feelings. Life happens, things change. And what often happens is people will hide. They will dim their light. they will become numb or distracted. And what I'd like to remind you of is your light is always inside of you. Your essence is always here. That presence is always available to you. And all you need to do is breathe and focus within. This is the true gift of the long dark night. It's reminding us of our light within, our presence is our purpose, and that comes from within. And so, empowered with this knowledge, you feel the light inside you expand, acknowledging, yes, this is true. And I know what to do. And sometimes it is to take action, and sometimes it is to allow and surrender. But it is that knowingness that I carry this within me always, in all ways. So as I stand up, and as you stand up from your meditation space, feeling this new authority within you, this confidence, this power, empowerment, power from within, you feel more assured that even when life brings you these long, dark nights, that you will have the illumination that's needed. And as you tune into this knowingness, you notice that outside of your beautiful space that you've created, that it's dawn, that the sun is beginning to return. So you go outside to greet her next to your beautiful plants. And you feel her sunshine begin to cascade over the trees of the forest and into your clearing, basking you in her warmth, her radiance, and her light. Feel the sunlight warm your body. And notice what that feels like for you. Oftentimes, in those long dark nights, it is when the night feels the longest and the darkest that we are just seconds before daybreak. The melancholy slips away and is replaced by joy, excitement, passion, and inspiration again. So as you feel the sun warm you and remind you of her presence, you remind yourself that every day beyond this long dark night, the sun shines brighter and brighter. And in response, that flicker, that light within you shines brighter and brighter. Thanking the sun, thanking the forest, thanking your beautiful garden, and thanking yourself. You take a moment to assimilate all you've experienced here and now. You look at your beautiful structure you've created in awe, and you remind yourself that you can come back here anytime. You make sure that all the fires are put out. And when you're ready, I invite you to walk out beyond your garden, wave to those beautiful intentions and those plants that you've grown and those seeds that you've sown, those intentions that you've made. And you begin to walk back towards the forest on the path, feeling the forest floor crunch beneath your feet and looking up at that beautiful blue sky. As you continue to walk, you're made aware that you are not alone, that there are many beings that exist in this forest, and that it is through the ecosystem, through the symbiotic relationship of all beings and all things, that we can exist, that we can thrive. And in the distance, we see that interesting door. So as we begin to walk closer, we say goodbye to the forest for now. Goodbye to our forest friends, and we thank it too for its lessons and wisdom. And when you're ready, we approach the door and we're going to walk back through into that safe, comfortable space that we started in. We close the door behind us and we bring ourselves back. We notice again in our safe, comfortable space that we've created those subtle nuances. And we remind ourselves of how we feel here and now. And as we continue to look around, we remind ourselves too that we can come back here anytime. And we begin to bring our awareness back to the breath. Noticing how the breath feels, moving in and out of our bodies. The subtle sensations. We begin to bring our awareness now back more into our physical body, noticing the surface underneath us providing support. Feeling our feet, feeling our hands. And as we slowly bring our awareness back into the physical, I invite you to breathe yourself back into this now moment. And when you're ready, I invite you to slowly open your eyes and welcome back into this space. Really give yourself a minute to come back fully. Feel your hands and bring your awareness back to the five senses. What do you feel? What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you taste? What do you see? Welcome back. I know I smell cannabis. I just want to thank everyone that came to the live today. Thank you so much. Honestly, you are what makes this special. So thank you for showing up and being a part of the journey. I hope that you guys got something out of this and that your intentions continue to grow. And I just want to wish you from my heart to you the most blessed winter solstice. This is such an epic time on the planet, and I know that individually and collectively, we are definitely moving through a lot, and there is a lot of healing that's happening. I hold hope that as we continue to be fully present in the lives that we live, that we do continue to see those changes that we want to see the most. So please nurture and help your intentions to grow. Like I was sharing before, you know, in order to manifest something, your intention and your attention, so your presence, are really important. But the third piece is action. So if you feel inspired, please take action. Do the thing. And if that thing is resting, do it. If you need permission, let me be the permission. So I want to just offer you one more smell-o-vision of my girls. So this is the watermelon that you saw me grow in my garden. And yeah, I'm so excited to share with you guys. So I'm just going to say hi to who I'm seeing in the moment. So I want to say, hey, John Maddox, so stoked to see you. You're here every time and I'm so grateful. So it's so nice to have you here. I want to say hey to Matthew Fernandez. It's been a minute, but so good. So good to have you here. And I did receive your seeds and I'm really, really excited to plant them in the new year. So thank you so much. I want to say hey to Gary Harmon Hobbs, Tim Nizzle1, to Raymond Cowell, to Patrick Ferguson. I want to say hey to Dreamer77DD. You're so welcome. Thank you too. Thank you for coming and for being a part of this. Honestly, I think the more we can show up, the better things are going to be on the planet. So thanks for showing up. I want to say hey to Friendly Farms. And of course, Susie Sherlock, you're amazing. You're such a wellspring of knowledge. So thanks for being here with us and for just bringing your love and your big heart. And like I said, all your knowledge. So grateful. I want to say hey to Mackie Chloe, there's so many. I don't want to miss anyone. To Chef Life 420. I want to say hey to Kush Crazy and Desta H. No OnlyFans. I'm not doing that. To Tammy Ape, I'm so sorry for mispronouncing that, but just know from my heart to yours, I'm so grateful that you're here. Oh, you guys, this is amazing. Matthew Brown, to Richard Sanchez too. Hey, Stephen Giannini. Giannini, I think I said it right. Hey, I want to say hey to Silver Sobe. Also Medication Station. So grateful you're here. Ethan Kreider. Yeah. Acme Nepal. Thanks for joining us. Alvin Mace. Welcome. Baraka Brown. Yes. I'm so grateful that we did a toke for BOG. Mark Kozma. Sovet. Hi. Again, apologies for the mispronunciation, but grateful you're here. Welcome, Cliff P. And I am Chili Dog. Yes. If you read the comments, you'll have a good little chuckle at that one. Sammy Sis 81. Brian Hershey, hello. Akron, just love me because I'm not good at this, but let's try this. AK Drone Pics. I think I did it. TNT Bud Sticker. Hello. Earth Friendly Farming. So stoked to have you here. Patrick Ferguson. Welcome. Xochi Pepe. Love it. So glad you're all here. Oh, guys, this is so wonderful. So you know what? I would love to. Oh, and of course, Gary Herman Hobbs. Welcome. I wanted to make sure I got you to Adam Smith, Luis Diaz. I wanted to just invite everybody, if you want to have one more toke with me, I'm going to have a couple more inhales of my dried flower. I like modulating that way right now. Have a toke with me. What are you guys toking on? I'm curious. And like I shared earlier, what are your solstice intentions? What are some of the things that you are looking at releasing and bringing into this next cycle? I'm really curious. And if you don't want to share them publicly, you can always find me online. I am back on social media in intermittent intervals. So like I will get back to you. You can find me at Selena Sativa on Instagram. You can also find us at Flower of Life Show on Instagram. Flower of Life is my baby. We started as a registered not-for-profit Compassion Club Society. We actually followed the British Columbia Compassion Club Society's model that was founded by Hilary Black, who I absolutely adore. We have transitioned into a medical cannabis clinic. So you can also find us on social at Flower of Life Integrative Health, Flower of Life Cannabis. You can check out the website, floweroflifeclinic.ca. If you are looking to use medical cannabis, I work with a really great physician. His name's Dr. Fair. He's hilarious. He's definitely not your like God complex doctor. He's definitely down to earth, cool guy. So what he does is he writes medical documents or prescriptions for you to use medical cannabis in Canada. Also, if you want to grow your own, which you guys saw my grow, the way that I was able to grow all those plants in my backyard legally in Canada was with my license. So we also license people to grow their own. And we also teach workshops. So if you want to learn how to make your own cannabis medicines, we just had one last weekend. We were making infused ginger snaps and snowballs. So instead of bath bombs, we were making snowballs because we didn't have the perfectly rounded molded, kit, but it was awesome. And those bath bombs were amazing. Also, we were teaching, massage oil. So that was really good. So if you want to learn how to make cannabis products from scratch, growing your own, turning that raw cannabis flower into stuff, that's what we do too. So learn along with us if you like. Otherwise, I would love to, again, hear about your guys' intentions over the next little bit. I know that, again, this is a big time for a lot of people on the planet. So gentle reminder, if you do need support, please call a crisis line. It's important. And I used to staff one, and these people are incredible. They are perfectly trained, well-trained to help support you. If you know of somebody in your life, maybe a friend or family member that's struggling, please just reach out to them. Instead of saying, hey, let me know if I can do anything, it's a lot more effective to just say like, hey, I noticed some stuff. How are you doing? Can I drop off some cookies or something? Very important. So just be mindful that it's an intense time for people. And I think a little bit of compassion can go a really long way. Now, I'm just going to text Marcus, and I'm just going to make sure that he knows.
I'm here.
Oh, you are here. Okay, good. I was just wrapping up. So I was just about to text
Perfect.
you. Good. Awesome. I just wanted to go through my notes one more time to make sure I didn't miss anything. Nope. Oh, last thing, just for timestamp's sake, if you guys are like crazy astrological people like me, I'm not an astrologer. However, when we look at what's going on astronomically, we actually have a grand conjunction that's happening tomorrow. So again, timestamp is December 20th, 2020. So on the 21st, literally Saturn and Jupiter are going to be like bloop together. You'll be able to see that about 45 minutes after sunset if you have a clear sky. And it's the closest they're going to be to the planet, to each other, the closest we've had in the last 800 years. So it's a pretty powerful conjunction. You can always go and learn more about that online. But otherwise, I'm really grateful that we got to have this winter solstice time together. And Marcus, as always, thank you so much for letting us share on your channel and for just bringing the community together. I think all of us really needed this, and I'm so grateful. So thank you.
Happy to be here.
Happy to have your mushroom pictures behind you too. Those are so sweet.
Some macro shots, yeah.
Oh, that's epic. Nice, nice. Well, again, thank you. And thank everybody for coming. I'm so grateful that we got to spend some time together. And I will definitely see you guys in the new year.
Peace out, everybody.
Bye.